Hello, how's it going? So, we're gonna keep going with Rudyard Kipling's "If." The next lines are actually gonna do four of them because they just kind of they would be incomplete if I didn't do all four of them. So, I'll read them out and then we'll go through it line by line. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. So, to me, now we'll go through it a little bit. So if you can make a heap, one heap of all your winnings, risk it on one turn, pitch, and toss. I assume that he's basically saying you can take, you have to be able to take everything you've ever worked for, all your money, your status, etc., and be able to risk it for something bigger and better and more wonderful. So if you're stuck in a dead end job, uh, or on a career path that you hate, or you have to be able to you know gamble it and go for something that you will possibly love. So the gamble is whether or not the new choice will actually work out, or even if it does work out, it might not be something that you want. You know, you find out that this new thing isn't really for you anyway. So it might not work out, but you won't be getting to that new place if you don't take that chance. So, and for a lot of people, this is true for me. Career changes are very scary. Going into the unknown is pretty frightening, but staying in the same place is just as horrible. It's actually kind of worse. But I would say that at least if you do gamble it and it doesn't work out, or you do gamble and it does work out but you don't like it, at least you gave it a go. I think if you're no worse off for having gambled and lost everything. If you're now out of the job you hate, you're out of the dead end career path. Fine, you have no money, no house, no status, etc. But you probably don't hate yourself or you hate your life as much at that dead end job. Now, I would say, you can, if the second career path, the second choice you have doesn't really work out, then at least you might learn something along the way. So I'll give you an example. So my personal experience, um, when I went to college, I studied three different things. I think I was making up for lost time in high school because, let's say in high school, you're not really exposed to very much in terms of like academic subjects. You have history, English, uh, some sciences. You have to go to PE. They might make you take a music class. They might make you take a language. Um, and maybe a couple choices. For the couple choices, I took photography. I didn't like it. Plus, it was showing my age here. You had to develop your own film, so you have to go into this dark room. So our photography class was at 7:30 in the morning. We had block scheduling, which means these classes are an hour and a half long, and you're sitting in a dark room at 17 at 7:30 in the morning. Everyone knows that teenagers need a lot of sleep. So sitting in a dark room at 17, I just slept. Every other day, I just slept in the dark room. I didn't get anything done. I got a terrible grade in the class. And it was just the dumbest idea ever. And it was just, I mean, I fell asleep, and despite the fact that the chemicals that they use, like the developer and the stop bath and all that, they were terrible. They smelled horrible. And the ventilation in that room was awful. And it wasn't fun. It's not for everyone. Um, Perhaps I just wasn't in the right place in my life to be able to do photography. I'm not a very visual art person. If anything, if any art works for me, it's music. Um, mostly because it's a little bit more mathematical. It's a little bit more logical in the sense of, you figure out scales and you can work within those scales. You have a chord progression, you can work within the chord progression via scales. Well, anyway, the point is that you're not exposed to very much when you're in school. And so when I got into college, I was just like, oh, I was just like a starved man at a buffet, just went crazy, and not in a think your head off kind of way, but in a sense, I just wanted to major in everything. And I realized that I had to slow down. But so I ended up getting a degree in history, um, taking two languages. I took, well, in high school, I took Latin, but in college, I took French and German. Um, I took a little bit, things that you have to take. But the thing is, I was exposed to a lot of things, but I kind of just wanted to go deeper in the things that I'd already been exposed to. I didn't expose myself to new things. So, and I hadn't really traveled that much. My family went to Ireland for a couple weeks, a couple years before, and most of my travel had been on up and down on the East Coast on family trips down to Florida, family trips up to New England, or I'd go to West Virginia and see my grandmother, and we'd drive around sort of the Midwest, maybe Ohio, Kentucky, around there, in the South. And the rest of the country didn't exist to me. It was just something you hear about in books or on TV. So anyway, I wasn't really exposed to anything. And then one of my teachers decided, or she had said, oh, well, there's this study abroad thing. You can study the summer in Paris. I thought, oh, that'd be really great. I wonder if I can do it. So I saved up a lot of money. My parents pitched in a bit, and I went to Paris for the summer. Traveled around a little bit before and after that, and I just got addicted to it. So after I came back, I started talking to, I still had to do another semester before I finished. So I finished early. I don't know if I should have done that, but it doesn't matter at this point. And I had a girlfriend at that point who was French. It had nothing to do with the trip. This is when I came back, and she was from France. And it just sort of, the world started opening up to me in a way that I'd never done before. And I thought, we wanted to stay together, but she couldn't stay here. So my teacher said, well, you can do what my daughter did, and you can become an English language assistant. You go into a French school. You have to apply for this, and it's through the French government. They try to bring in Americans, Brits, Canadians, Australians. But they do other places like Germans, Spaniards, Italians, etc. Anything that they would teach in a French school, but particularly English. And you can go there. You can live there for the whole school year. You get paid, not very well, but you get paid enough to get by. For a 22-year-old, it's fine. You can get by. And I was like a pig in shit. I just ate up the French language like crazy. I did another year of it. I kept going. I came back. I got a bachelor's degree in economics. And I decided I didn't have enough. So I went to Germany. And it was a different job. I hated my job. So this is the thing, is that I've had fun in France. I thought, I'll just continue. I'll just do this in Germany. I hated my life in Germany. I don't really want to say bad things about Germany. Part of my family is German going way back, long before, the more recent nastiness that happened in Germany. But we had like German food and things like that, and had a little soft spot for Germany in my heart. But I got there. The job was terrible. The students were just, and they were adults and they just did not want to learn. I can deal with children who don't want to learn, but adults, I'm just like, why are we wasting our time? I made a lot of money on this. I got to travel a lot. I saw a lot of Germany, the Netherlands. Went down to parts of France I hadn't been to. So I got to travel a lot. I hated my job. So this is like a gamble that just didn't pay off. I wasn't meeting anybody. I was miserable. I was drinking like a fish because I was miserable. I had friends, but they were all expats. A couple Brits, a couple Americans, and we were just miserable. Altogether. Well, part of it is because we hated our boss, but also the students, and the city was kind of ugly, and there wasn't really much to be happy about other than the money. If you don't really want to spend it. So I ended up pocketing up a lot of it, and despite the fact I was drinking too much, I ended up making a ton of money off of that. But I knew it wasn't going to work, so I just said, all right, I'm to hell with this. I'm going to go to grad school. I came back, went to grad school here in Philadelphia. And so the thing is that, you can have these career changes. They are scary. You can go into a foreign country and not speak a word of the language, or not. You can do it on a textbook. You can't do it out there in the wild. So I gave it a go. It didn't pan out, but I think it works out. That the thing is, you learn, okay, it's fun to do these exciting things. But in France, I had no financial stability. I love France. But I had no financial stability. I had financial stability in Germany, but I wasn't having fun. It was a miserable existence. So I realized that despite both of them not working out, that you have to be able to balance financial stability with having fun in your life. Those are really important. From that point forward, that was a very important thing to me. So I did learn something about that, and I learned it the hard way. And I do have fun memories of France and Germany, and we did this. My wife and I did the same in Britain. We were a bit more stable, but the pandemic ruined everything. I'm not going to go on about that. But so you have to learn to make these gambles, and even if they don't work out, they're going to teach you something that makes your life a little bit richer. And so, okay, the second part of this is to lose and start at your beginnings and never breathe a word about the loss. So, okay, let's say it doesn't work out and you have to start over from square one. It's not fun. It's humiliating. And if people know about it, it's even more humiliating. It's humiliating to yourself because you had all these great plans. How many careers did I have in my head? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I started off, I'm going to be a basketball player. Well, my dad said, well, I'm 6 feet tall. Your mom's 5'6". You're not going to be a giant. So I'm not going to be a baseball player just because it takes too much dedication, and you have to be a bit of a obsessive type to end up being anything like high level sports. And by the time I hit my teenage years, I just didn't care about anything. So you basically, how many career changes have you had in your mind? I'm going to do this. So when you actually go out there and try them, and they always fail, or at least, especially in the young, I think it's good though. It's good that your dreams don't work out because they're just dreams. Like I said in one of the previous videos, is that they're fantasies. You don't realize that despite the fact that these baseball players, they make millions of dollars a year, you might be miserable. You're making millions of dollars a year, but you're never home there to appreciate anything. You're never at home in your $1 million mansion. So okay, so you try something new, it doesn't work out. You're humiliated to yourself. You're embarrassed. You might not want to show your face around because everyone knows you failed. You've made a calculated risk, though, on something that you potentially wanted to try. It didn't work out. It didn't pan out. That doesn't mean your decision was wrong, though. Calculated risk, it's almost like insurance. Like there's a percentage chance that this will work out. And if it's something you're willing to try, then the going in that this might not work out. And if it doesn't work out, you say, well, that was the 90% chance that it wasn't going to work out. Of course it wasn't going to work out. But, 10% of the time it might work out. It doesn't mean your decision was wrong. It just means your number didn't come up. So you might learn something about that. Try again. Maybe the percentages will change because you've learned how to do something differently. And you can add a little note on your resume. Tried this. And it makes you more interesting. So you might be able to get some valuable insight into business, to culture, love life, human nature, yourself, what you want to do, All of these things might help you along the way. The second part of this is never breathe a word about your loss. This is actually, I would say, not never. I'll put it like this: I don't understand people who announce their losses or their defeats. It's not something. Being defeated is not something to be proud of. It's not something to be ashamed of either, especially if you gave it a try and it didn't work out. You made the calculated risk, it didn't work out, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. But I don't know if it's worth having other people know and just inviting them into your failure. I wouldn't go out of my way to hide loss, but I wouldn't just start, I lost, So you can, I think it's okay to announce your successes in an understated way. If you have to, with somebody close to you, you can share in the joy. I normally just hold my cards close to my chest. There's no need to be an exhibitionist about the highs and lows of life. So I understand that, exhibitionist about highs and lows in life, and here I am making videos about my personal life and how, my family's not doing that well. I know that hardly anybody watches these videos, and they do help me gather my thoughts, help me speak. I think these videos help me get the job that I'm starting next week. So I'm the winner here, and you're the winner because you're along for the ride. They help me gather my thoughts. They help me get used to being on a camera. You know what you look like. The lighting in here is much better than what it is on the camera, but that's, I'm not going to drop, $1,000 on the camera if no one's watching. But, these videos, they're there for me mostly. And if I die before my kids are aware of anything and need advice, well, here's some advice. Read Rudyard Kipling. It's great advice. It'll help you along the way. Maybe these videos will mean something to them. Maybe it'll mean something to a stranger who just stumbles across this video. If it helps people, if it lets people know that they're not alone in going through pain or any sort of struggle, and that you can bear it with dignity, responsibility, and not let it destroy you, then it's a success. It's almost like a gift that maybe one person in the world gets. I sometimes find that the best videos I've ever watched were not viral. I don't really remember every single kitty cat video running around like an idiot. I've got 3 of them in the house. I don't need videos of them. But I will say that some of the best advice, some of the best stories, or just things that make me think came from no one. Nobody's. They were just nobody. And it was their video, talking about themselves that made me think, oh, I guess I'm not alone in this. Maybe it's, I don't know. There's an old expression: a problem shared is a problem halved, and a joy shared is a joy doubled. That might be true. So that's why I announced my losses. So I would say, but for the most part, there's no need to share your losses. It doesn't make you any better. In fact, it just kind of makes you feel worse. So anyway, that's that. I will see you in another video. Hello.